It's Peanut here. Let me adjust my camera a bit here. I got another double barrel and I got another double trouble. I got this off Farms List. I ordered it from State Over. It came in one day and I didn't pick it up to the next day, but it is a W. Richards. It is an old English one. Double barrel 12 gauge with this lever to open the barrels. Now, it does have Damascus barrels, so it's probably not a shooter. At least nothing too strong. The seller failed to mention some flaws, which I guess is common, but it's got real heavy rust deposit right here that protrudes. It's got a dent in the barrel. I don't know if you can see it. Right here, my finger's on it. Not much of a dent, just a tiny one. The foregrip is missing an inlay, which I'll just make one out of steel, super glue it in, glue it. I don't know what else to do. The stock and the butt plate, of course the butt plate's metal. They were metal when these were made. The stock itself and everything looks pretty solid. This lever though is very, very loose. The face lockup is very, very loose, and it doesn't even lock up unless you push up on this. So I gotta figure out, because I don't know what's going on. I gotta figure out what's going on, but this will probably be a two-part video. One, I'm just going to show you the gun, and two, I'll show you, maybe after I get it fixed. Yeah, the stock's really good shape. It is a W. Richards. You won't be able to see it. It's written really fine right through here. But this lever thing's pretty cool. That's why I wanted to buy it, because it's really old. Damascus barrels. I think they're 28 inches. But if you can help me place the year. I know nothing about these guns with these. That opens. It looks like maybe there's a spring inside there. It might be missing. And I might have to take this apart. God, I don't want to do that, but what the heck. Initially, I didn't really pay that much for it, but with shipping, and my FFL charges me $40 to pick up a gun there if I bought it somewhere else, So on top of what I paid for it, I got another $75 into it. But it'll give me something to tinker on, and it's cool as heck. Oop. See, it doesn't want to stay latched. I'm going to dive right into it, tear it apart. Maybe I'll extend this video, I don't know. Hammers all, they all function. I was told not to dry fire this, but hey, what are you going to do? I'm sure it's been dry fired before once or twice. I do have some snap caps I'll probably have to go get, but the hammers and everything work good. There's no safety on it. I'm thinking 1880s. I just have a tiny little sight BB. The barrels are very, very thin at the end. See that? You can actually see that one's bigger than the other, unless that's a trick of the eye. Oh, that's a trick of the eye. Because the way it's facing the camera. Oops. Right there, the one on my left looks bigger. And one on my left still looks bigger, so probably just a trick of the eye. But I'm gonna dive right into this, tear this handle out, and see if I can get to that lug on the bottom. Now, to take this foregrip off, you have to pull this pin completely out like that. Now, it doesn't come all the way out, but you got to pull out like that, and then this snaps off. That's kind of different. I've never seen one like that. It has that pin goes through right there. So, but these are built really funny. Anyway, I can take up some of that play pretty easily, but that's a lot of play. So, I don't know. I might wind up getting a welder out. I don't know. But my first objective is to get this here tightened up. There's a little lever in here, little catch that moves back and forth, and it just acts like it's missing a spring or something. So we're going to dive right into it. I'm not going to film it because, you know, I go slow, but that's my gun, a W. Richards double barrel 12 gauge. I'm guessing from, I mean, I know it's late 1800s, but if you know or you got a good idea, let me know. So I got my gun torn apart. I got the top part of I guess that's the receiver. Just the top part. I got that taken off. Came off pretty easy. I got, make sure I don't lose my pin. I got one of these tools in there holding for the pin, and that lever goes back and forth like it should, but it acts like it needs a spring, and there is no spring involved. There's the end. It just sticks out, and there's a little recess in the wood right here for that flat. I'll take it out and I'll show it to you. That's what the arm looks like that moves. It goes in the hole of this dealy. I don't know what it is. Lock up. This is all it is. There's a hole in this triangle piece, goes in there and moves it back and forth. That's how it moves. Now that looks like that might have been a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to do some work to that. But what I am going to do, since there's no spring there, and there probably should be, I'm going to drill a hole in that square or that rectangle, and I'm going to I'll probably cut that down, and I'm going to put a spring in there. So there's a little bit of pressure against that, and I'm going to give it a shot. Hopefully I don't screw things up. So I got my hole drilled, I got my spring, so that'll go all the way in and put pressure on that locking tab. Now I'm going to assemble it. A lot of that wobble, what I did is this lug here that fits into the receiver. I just take a drift pin or a punch, and I punched pretty good shot here and here, and the same way on the other side at the bottom and right here. Excuse me. Just enough to push a little metal out. It's not, it'll never be as good as new, but that's all it took. Just push a little bit of metal, you know, out with a punch, get pretty close to the edge, and punch a little metal out, and that's all it took. It locks up pretty nice now. There's no wobble at all. Now, is that going to last very long? Well, this isn't a gun anybody's going to shoot a lot, so it's going to last probably the life of the gun. I mean, nobody's probably even going to shoot this gun. I know I'm not. Maybe if I do, it's just going to be once or twice just to hear it shoot. But that's how I tighten the lug up. That's the better way than the other way I do it. There's another way I do it that's a little cheesy, but it works real quick and it tightens it up. And I hate to say it, but if you're getting rid of a gun and it's a little wobbly, it tightens it right up, and you can't tell it, you can't see it. It's real quick. I'll show you that sometime. If someone wants to know, post a comment. But if not, I'm still working on my lever. My lever is real loose, and let me pull the pin out. What it is these holes here on both sides. They're so worn from the twist that this gets put into. The pin's in good shape, but maybe if I drilled it out and put a bigger pin in it, that would probably work. I don't know if I really want to do that. I guess I could go a little bigger. No, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I'm still pondering it. We'll get back to you with the rest. So at one point or another in its life, these ejector had a pin that was peened, and with no way to hold that bottom of that shaft, I couldn't peen that more. So I had to put a little spot weld on it, spot weld it. So now I just have to clean it up with a file, and that's one more thing fixed. I got my lever pretty good. I was going to drill the pin out, but I didn't have to because I found a nail. It was a .11. The pin was a .11 with some spots worn to .10. And I found a nail that was .11 or .12. And it actually fit in through them holes that were already in there. So there was a lot of slop in them holes. I was going to drill it, but I didn't have to. I cut nail off both ends and drove a nail in there, and that stiffened it up a lot. It's still pretty hard to open, but there's a spring in there. It springs back. You can't probably see it right in here. In here. It doesn't go very far. I tightened the hammers up, pulled them off. They're got a square, like a socket. You take them screws out. I forget I'm so far away from the camera. You take these screws out, and it's just like a square shaft, and the hammers slide onto it. The screws were damaged from someone else trying to over tighten them. So I just set them into vise. I didn't clamp them. I didn't have to. I just set them with the jaws close, and I run a hacksaw through them 2 or 3 times, and it cut that hole or the slot nice and deep, and I can tighten them up really tight now. The hammers on the square slots, I just took a punch, and I punched at the top of each flat spot, if you know what I mean. Not on the corners, but on the flat spots, just to push the metal in a little bit so it would tighten up that square, because the square, you know, there's a square shaft and a square slot in the hammer and there was a lot of play in them, they would move back and forth and forward and back. And, you know, just little punch work, and that's all it took. And they're nice and stiff now. That one don't even move at all. But they still move. I don't really want to dry fire this, but I tighten the hammers up a lot. This one's just a little bit of play in that. I can live with that. It had a lot of play in those hammers would move back a lot. Maybe I'll fix that up later, but I'm getting there. I'm making some progress. There really isn't much more I need to do with this. This is pretty much done, other than maybe some cleaning. The wood I think I'm just going to leave alone. It's nice. It looks antique-ish, which I would love to take this and clean it all up, restain it, take the metal down to shiny and make it look like it did when it was new, but I'm not going to do that. I don't have the resources or the knowledge to do that. Not one of them. I can't redo the checkering, and it has nice checkering on it, and there's no need to disturb it, so I'm not going to. I'm going to file down that ejector, my weld on that ejector, and then I might need to put a spot weld on that lug to tighten that wobble up. It was tight, and then it starts wobbling again. I don't know. The punch thing didn't work very good. What else? Oh, this inlay. There's a V-notch missing out of it, this foregrip. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I don't have any precious metals. I do have a piece of stainless, which I don't think would look right in there. I think just a piece of iron or steel and glue it, get it so it kind of fits in that notch. It looks like just a triangle and it's tapered a bit. And then you don't really pull like the old ones because of this pin. This retaining pin goes all the way through. So you don't really pull. I might just super glue it fast or Gorilla Glue it in there. But we'll see. I got to do something with this. And maybe I'll just put putty in it. I don't know. It's not going to look like it did originally, but I could put putty in there and spot stain it, and it would look good. And I don't care if it looks good. I just don't want it to look bad. You see that? It's just, I don't know what it's missing. Some type of inlay. But we're hammer it out, get her done. Put it on the wall. Anyway, that's where I'm at now. I gotta do some filing. So I got the gun back together. There's still just a little bit of wobble. I'm gonna see if I can't get that out of it. You'll just barely notice it. You can hear it. But for a gun that's probably close to 140 years old, that's pretty good. Like I said, I don't know if it's ever going to be shot. That lever, it's on the other side, and I don't know, I'll try to do it left-handed. Just push down that lever. It is hard. And open it up. It's not as hard with my dominant hand. I don't know if I completely understand what's going on, why it's so hard to open. But with my dominant hand, I can open it up pretty easy to see. I got my ejectors welded and filed. It's pretty much good to go. I don't know what else to do to it. There's a ding in the barrel. A ding in the barrel. You can see it right there. I don't know how to get that out. I'm thinking I'm going to go to the hardware store and see if I can get a big piece of steel rod, put through that barrel, and let that dent sit on the top and tap it with a rubber mallet or maybe a wooden mallet. Or if I have to, I'll go buy one, a brass mallet, which I seen the guy on Midway do. But that even a piece of 1/2 inch steel rod would probably work. You know, I'd support it on both ends and just let that barrel sit there. I can put the ding up and just tap it. It's very soft metal, I'm sure, so it should come right out. But I'll let you know if I do that, how it works. I got some of the big rust pits off of it. It's got a little pitting in it, but they're Damascus barrels, and I don't know what to do with them. Just leave them alone, I guess. This says London Fine Twist on it. And it was a W. Richards. So, I have no idea how to place the year. If you know, let me know, of course. Have any questions or anything you can tell me about this rifle. That's not a rifle, shotgun. I do that a lot. It's got this lever here for the release. And it doesn't work as slick as you think it would, but I don't know if it's because it's old or that's just the way they worked. But it does work. There isn't that much wobble in it. But really, other than that, you know what? I think I'm just going to put some wood putty in that. Stain it. I'll have to clean that out really good so the wood putty bonds. Instead of cutting a piece of metal. Like I said, you don't really pull on that anyway. You pop this pin out. Oof. And you pull on it a little bit, I guess. But it's not like it's spring loaded. It's just sitting there. So if I put a piece of metal in there and glue it, it'll probably pop out. Probably the same with the wood putty. Unless I give it a shallow end. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I'll take this off and show you what I'm talking about. And you've seen this before. I showed it to you. It's missing an inlay. And of course it just looks like it's missing something. So I got to do something with it. Anyway, that's where I am right now. I decided I'm just going to put some wood filler in this end of the stock. So what I did is I cut off a tiny nail, drilled a hole, pilot hole, and I put it in there with some super glue. The camera really isn't focusing very well. But that nail, aside from the way that V-notch is cut, it's cut under. So it's not just straight in, it's kind of tapered like this. So as the putty hardens, it just naturally won't come out. But to keep it from sliding this way, I put a nail in there. It's not very high, but I'll get that wood putty in it and all around that, and that should keep that nice and solid. Let's hope. But that's what I do when I use wood putty. I try to put a nail or a screw or something in there to hold it. Alright, so I got my wood inlay in there. Just put some putty in there. Wood putty, furniture stain. And I taped it off, put a tiny coat of lacquer on it. So that's all there is to that. That's done. And put it back on. And it's as far as I can go with it. Still some dings in the barrel. Stock's nice. It's still tight. It's not quite on face 100%, but it's tight. Locks up good. It still feels like there's too much pressure that needs to be put on that to open that, but well, there she is. Let me show you from this side. This side has this is the better side because it's got the lever. Well, I don't think this is a keeper for me. I think I'm going to sell it. And yeah, I bought guns and worked on them, fixed them up, and then turned around and sold them for exactly what I paid for them. Not in it to make money. I really enjoy working on these guns. Sometimes I even lose money. You know, I'll pay for the experience. Now I know how these guns work. I know, you know, the mechanics of them. I know how frail they are. These Damascus barrels, you should stay away from them. Like the plague. They say you can shoot low brass out of them, but I wouldn't. You know, what happens when you split the end of the barrel or it just cracks? You know, there you are with an old gun that's cracked. And for the amount of money I put into this, a little bit more, I could have bought a brand new one. A cheap one. But the cheap ones, some of them cheap ones are good ones. Some of them TriStars. I think that'll be my next purchase. An over-under TriStar from Walmart. It doesn't have 2 triggers, and that bugs me, but how often do you pull both triggers at one time? Never owned a over and under, so I think I'm going to send this to auction. There's a gun auction every month around my place. And I'll get what I get out of it, and hopefully I break even. Like I said, I don't care about making money. I don't care about losing a little bit. But it was fun. I did a lot. I tightened a lot of things up on it. This lever's incredibly tighter than what it was. See how I can wiggle that? That's how much I tightened it up. I don't know if I wiggled the hammers in the initial video, but you know, they're snug. The lockup's tight. There's just not much more I can do with it. I don't think it's a keeper for me, but I really liked working on it. And I hope you liked watching me work on it. And I guess just thanks for watching.